Being normal is something that none of us are very good at. We all try acting, speaking, and dressing the right way. But why is it that the more normal we try to be, the more awkward and boring we are? I was at a party the other day, and I was having a normal conversation with another guest. And of course, it starts off with, "Hi, how are you?" "I'm well, thanks, how are you?" "So, how do you know so-and-so?" Classic example of a normal conversation. But whenever we try to have normal conversations, why do they feel so painfully boring? No one likes being trapped in a normal conversation, and there's a reason for that. To be normal is to conform, to be typical and expected. But there's no fun in that. We want to know each other's most embarrassing stories, favorite Harry Potter characters, and crazy childhood dreams. These are the things that connect us. That's what makes life interesting. When we're learning to be normal, there's a steep, steep learning curve. As kids, we learn what it means to be normal from our parents, who tell us not to eat with our elbows on the table, and not to leave the house when we're dressed like this. And in school, we're taught to sit at our desks straight and write a certain way. And when we start our careers, we're given a whole new set of rules and standards to conform to, from the way we communicate to the way we dress. And we become so accustomed to these norms that we forget there's actually a different way. I grew up on a small farming community in Canada, and there, to be normal meant to be white, cisgender, to love hunting and hockey, and if you wanted to fit in, you wore a hoodie and ripped jeans like everyone else. But growing up, I never felt like I fit in. I felt like I was different from everyone else. Little did I know that everyone else also felt like they were different from everyone else. None of us felt like we fit in or knew what to do with this box we'd been put in, but we were told to figure it out. And in school, one of the first assignments I remember being given was to draw a picture of a house. And my friends and I all produced similar drawings that looked like this, what you would expect. My friends and I thought this is how everyone lived. We thought this was normal. We didn't know that there were more people in the world who lived in homes like this. And when I was 17, I moved away from home for the first time. I moved to New York City, where being normal had nothing to do with hunting or hockey. In fact, if those were your hobbies, you'd be kind of weird. And over the past 5 years, I've lived in 5 different countries. And every time I move somewhere new, I learn a new definition of normal. And one of the countries I lived in recently was Laos. And while I was working there, some of my colleagues would take sick days and stay home from work, which seemed pretty normal. Until I found out that they stayed home because being sick meant that bad spirits were following them around. And so everyone would say a prayer to help send the bad spirits away. And here, we might say a prayer for them too, but it would probably be a very different kind of prayer. And in places like Laos and Japan, doing things like making slurping sounds when eating noodles is a way to show that you're really enjoying your food. But if you slurp your noodles here, people will probably talk about you behind your back and call you Slurpy Sally. No matter who we are or where we grow up, we learn what it means to be normal, we learn what's acceptable and what's not. But none of us like being normal, and we aren't very good at it either. It not only limits our imagination, but it limits our choices and our future. And the thing is, here's the thing. Who decides what normal is anyway? Whether we realize it or not, it's up to all of us. We have the power to redefine normal with every single decision we make. We can either conform and reinforce the status quo or choose something different. And when we're brave enough to be bold and choose a different way, we can create a greater possibility for ourselves and for everyone around us. Think about the people we admire most. Who or what do you admire most? One of the people I admire most is Gustave Eiffel, the architect. When people go to Paris, one of the first things they'll do is visit the Eiffel Tower. It's an iconic, beautiful piece of architecture. But when it was first built, it was widely referred to as useless and monstrous. But Eiffel, as the architect, he took a great risk. He used his imagination to create something that the world had never seen before. And he faced decades of criticism. But today, we have more than 50 other replicas of it around the world. It's become normal. And it doesn't matter if we're an architect, an astronaut, a teacher, or a student. You have the opportunity to change the world with your imagination and your courage. Yet, how many times have you stopped yourself from sharing an idea because it sounded too outrageous? How many times have you held yourself back from going after your dreams because they seem too far-fetched? The greatest leaders in the world, what sets them apart is their willingness to be different and pave a new way, even in the face of criticism and fear. And when there are so many challenges in our political, education, and healthcare system, we have a responsibility to speak up and step beyond the limitations and the violence and the greed that others have accepted as normal. Because together, we can set a new standard and create a better future in our communities, our countries, and our world. And I'm still trying to figure out what it means to be normal. But I know I'm not the only one. And so I think it's time that we start embracing our differences, our imaginations, and being the leaders that we were born to be.